Everybody's talking about AI. It's everywhere. But if you're a business leader, you're asking a much tougher question. How on earth do we justify the cost? Especially when you hear stats that a staggering 90% of companies aren't seeing a real return on their AI investment. It's pretty clear the old way of thinking about this just isn't cutting it. This quote just hits the nail on the head. Vague promises like improving efficiency are not going to get a project funded, right? That's useless. We need to talk about real money. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut through all the noise and build a really concrete financial framework so you can calculate the actual, tangible value of an AI project before you spend a single cent. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get real about why this is so tough. Then, we'll dive into a game-changing concept, the cost of inaction. From there, we'll actually run the numbers, look at the value that goes way beyond just saving money, talk about a few common traps to avoid, and then wrap it all up with a clear action plan you can use. So let's just be honest for a second. Calculating the ROI on an AI project is notoriously difficult. We already know most companies are struggling with it. And the reason why? Well, it's usually because the whole approach is flawed right from the very beginning. Here's the core issue. We have to completely change our starting point. Instead of trying to sell a project based on fuzzy benefits like enhanced productivity, we need to ground the entire conversation in solid financial terms that actually mean something to the bottom line. And that starts by looking at the problem in a totally new way. And this right here, this is the big reframe. This is maybe the most important shift in thinking you can make. Before we even dream about the potential gains of a new AI project, we first have to figure out the current pain. We have to calculate the cost of inaction, the very real price you're paying right now for doing nothing. Think of the cost of inaction like a hidden tax on your business for being inefficient. It's the money that's just leaking out every single day. Maybe it's through missed sales or just friction and drag in your operations. It's watching your competitors who are innovating start to pull ahead. This isn't some future problem. It's a real, ongoing financial drain happening today. So, how do we actually calculate it? It's a lot simpler than you might think. Let's just walk through a quick example. Let's say you have 5 employees, and they each spend about 10 hours a week on some repetitive manual task. If their average loaded cost is, say, 30 euros an hour, well, that one little inefficiency is costing the business 1,500 euros every single week. And that weekly cost, it adds up fast. Over a whole year, the company is literally burning 72,000 euros just by keeping things the way they are. That's not some made-up number. It's a real, quantifiable loss. And this number, this is the anchor for your entire AI business case. Okay, so now we have a number, a hard number for our cost of inaction. Now we can start building a real case. Let's compare that cost directly to what we plan to invest, and from that we can calculate the hard ROI, the direct, tangible financial return. So on one side, you've got the investment, and it's so important to look at the total cost of ownership, the TCO. It's not just the price tag. You've got to include development, integration, and ongoing maintenance. Let's say for this project, that all comes to 50,000 euros. Then, on the other side, you have the savings. If our AI can automate, say, 80% of that inefficient task, we'd save 57,600 euros a year. And here's where it all comes together. The math suddenly becomes crystal clear. The payback period? Less than 11 months. The project literally pays for itself in under a year. And the first-year ROI is a very healthy 15.2%. Now, this is the kind of hard financial data that gets a project a green light. But hold on. The story doesn't stop there with cost savings. In fact, that's really just the beginning. The true value of AI isn't just about what you cut. It's about what you can do with the resources you just freed up. This is where we get strategic. So let's ask a really powerful question here. This AI project just freed up thousands of hours of your team's time. What if, instead of just celebrating the savings, you redirected all those hours into activities that actually generate value? Things like sales or innovation or building better customer relationships. And just look at the impact. That 15% ROI from pure savings is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not the whole picture. If you can use that freed up talent to generate just a 5% bump in revenue, look what happens. the total ROI just skyrockets. This is how you transform a simple efficiency project into a massive engine for growth. People often call this stuff soft ROI, but honestly, its impact is anything but soft. Just think about it for a second. Your teams start making smarter decisions. Your employees are happier because they're doing more meaningful work. Your whole company becomes more agile, more competitive. You're building a real long-term strategic advantage. Now, before we pull this all together, we have to talk about the common traps. Because even with the best plan, companies often make some costly mistakes when they're trying to measure AI ROI. Knowing what these are is the best way to avoid falling into them yourself. There are 3 big ones you gotta watch out for. First, focusing only on short-term gains. The real value from AI often takes more than a year to show up. Second, ignoring the total cost of ownership, which, as we've seen, is absolutely critical. And finally, thinking of ROI as a one-and-done calculation. You have to keep monitoring AI performance to make sure its value doesn't degrade over time. All right, so let's pull all of this into a simple, powerful framework that you can use to build your next AI business case. This is your action plan.
Here it is, your 4-step action plan. Number 1, always start by quantifying the cost of an action. Make the pain of doing nothing impossible to ignore. 2, calculate the direct savings against the full total cost of ownership. No shortcuts. 3, identify the strategic revenue-generating value of repurposing your team's now free time. And 4, build your final case using both the hard financial returns and that long-term strategic value.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. By reframing this whole discussion, we change the fundamental question we're asking. It's no longer, what's the potential ROI of this new thing? Instead, it becomes, what is the very real, ongoing cost of not doing it? What is doing nothing truly costing your business every single day?